We have been working with the Sermon on the Mount, and the lessons have been awesome. I've heard them. I like to describe the Sermon on the Mount as Jesus' signature series. It's here that he explains the nature of God and the nature of humankind. It's in the Sermon of the Mount that he covers the meaning of life and death. It's here that he shows us why we make mistakes and why we bend to temptation. It's in this sermon that he exposes why we experience poverty, sickness, old age, and death, and what's more, why they master us. But better still, it's in the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus teaches us how these limitations can be overcome and how we can bring health, happiness, and prosperity not only into our lives, but into the lives of those of others. The Sermon of the Mount, he just covers it all. He covers the Beatitudes where we talked about it. Reverend McDowell gave us the Beatitudes. Attorney Gavin Jackson walked us through the power of why we ask and why we seek and why we knock. And Reverend Joe on last week took us down memory lane and brought us back to the remembrance of the law of mind in action. Today, I want to read to you from the Gospel of Matthew 7:24. It reads this: hearers and doers. Everyone then who hears the word of mine and acts on them, someone say act on them. Everyone then who hears the words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. Somebody say on the rock. On the rock. The rain fell, the floods came, the winds blew, and they beat on that house, but it did not fall. Somebody say it did not fall. It did not fall. Because it was founded on a rock. But then he juxtaposes it and he says, and everyone who hears the words of mine and does not act, someone say does not act. Everyone who hears the words of mine and does not act on them is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house and it fell, and great was its fall. Now, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as their scribes. So I really only have one question for you today, and that question is simply, what did you build it on? The house in this instance is our awareness, and the question that is presented to us is, what did we build our awareness on? I want to jump right in because one of the things that Jesus helps us see very clearly is that first point: there is a commonality in adversity. Here is what I mean by that. When we look at the text, we see both the wise, the so described wise man, and the so described foolish man both experience the same thing. Not only did they both experience the same thing, the fact that one was wise and one was foolish did not in any way prevent them from having the experience of adversity. Adversity is a part of life. The only way you can escape adversity is to not live. But if you show up and you put on an earth suit, and you decide that you should have any days on earth, just know that those days will be accompanied by some adversity. Can I share something else with you? There is no such thing as being too spiritual for adversity. There is no having enough classes to not have you experience adversity. There is no category of Christian that prevents you from experiencing adversity. Even if you come to church on time every Sunday, Somebody say on time. Even those of us who show up on time experience adversity. And here is the part that's kind of trippy. It's really read into what he says. He's saying the rains come and the floods come and the winds come, but it's not a question of if, it's only a matter of when. See, I wish, Reverend McDowell, there was a caveat where it was claused in the if it comes. But there is no if it comes. If you're here, just know that it comes. And so the first thing that I want you to know is that there's nothing wrong with you if you're going through something. You're all right. You're not broken. You're not losing your mind. You're not even dropping in consciousness. What you are is a living, breathing being. And just like all you have to do is drive your car down the street in order for bugs and dust to get on your windshield, all you have to do is drive through life. And if you just drive through life, you can expect to experience adversity because there is a commonality in adversity. Now, can I pull back for a second and reveal to you the beautiful thing about adversity? Somebody's supposed to say yes. I know it's been 3 weeks. Like, we're not sure if that's a rhetorical question or what. If everything happens just and nothing just happens, or if nothing just happens and everything happens just, there is a purpose for the problem. If there is something behind everything, or if God is all there is something, there is a purpose, there is a lesson, there is an opportunity behind the adversity. The challenge for most of us is that we get so consumed with the challenge or with the adversity that we never search out the blessing. Because the blessings don't necessarily stand up and scream out that this is the benefit of working through this. But just know that there is always good, because all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. So there is a purpose to the adversity. Part of this purpose is it's intended to help us understand preparation. One of my favorite quotes by a gentleman named Cavett Robert, he says, "If we study the lives of great men and women carefully and unemotionally, we will find invariably that their greatness was developed, tested, and revealed through the darker periods of their lives." He says one of the largest tributaries to the river of greatness is the stream of adversity. See, if you intend to be what God purposed you to be, you have to expect that the limitations that you hold will always be challenged. See, there is no such thing as I have faith in God and some test to prove that you have faith that you say you have. Even in grade school, for all of our graduates, for as beautiful as they are and for as handsome as they are, for as smart as they are, none of those systems of education just allowed them to pass through without putting the test in front of them. And so you say you understand what we taught you. Really? Then it's time to prove it. See, if you really get what I'm saying, then you understand that adversity is proven time. It's not running time. It's proven time. It's time to stand on the truth you say you know. Because here is what I also know. You can move to Sacramento and the same adversity that had you in Chicago will somehow follow you to Sacramento. Sacramento too close, you can move to the Amalfi Coast, and somehow the same challenge that you met on the Amalfi Coast, that you met in Chicago, will meet you on the Amalfi Coast. Why? Because it's the consciousness. My teacher said you take it with you. And so then the adversity is intended to help us prove. It's the test. Are you with me? And so according to Jesus, there are two ways to approach this test. There is the way of approaching the test where we build what we know, or we build the house of our awareness on one of two things. Either we build it on the sand or we build it on the rock. I'm just asking you, what did you build it on? See, because if you build it, they will come. By they, I mean the rains and the floods and the storms. Let me say it to you this way. If you dare to experience your healing, expect the rain and the floods and the winds to come. If you dare to expand your finances, expect the rain and the floods and the winds to come. See, the first time I looked up and saw that my net worth was $1 million, I was thinking that I had mastered the rain and the floods and the winds. And then I looked up, and 7 figures were 3 figures. But all the obligations of $1 million life, the rains came and the floods came, and they beat on the house. So you've got to decide what you will build it on. Listen, hear me. It's our responsibility to decide what we will build it on. But irrespective of what you build it on, just know that the rain and the floods and the winds will come, and they will beat on the house. And if you build it on the sand, before you build it on the sand, you should know the characteristics of what it is you're going to build on. See, the thing about sand is finely divided rocks. Oh my God, don't miss this. Please don't miss this. Thank you. So a sand and the rock really are made of the same thing. The difference between the two is one, it's still in its solid form, and the other one has been minced and condensed and parsed out and parsed through. See, for some of us, the truth that we've been studying is still in its solid state. But then for others of us, we started to doubt and we started to waver and we started to shift about whether or not it works. But I do believe that it works if you will work it, but it'll only work if you stand firm on the truth. See, you've got to learn how to not let the wind move you off the rock. Because the winds will come and they will blow hard. But when you know that they only come to find out if you will move off the rock, then you can stand and plant your 2 big spiritual feet. It's coming. I like the way New Edition said it. They asked a very poignant theological question. They asked, can you stand the rain? Here is why that question is important. Because If your foundation is not solid enough to stand the rain, what you gonna do when it floods? Murphy's Law says, whatever can, will. Truth teaching says, no sooner than you say you got it, something or someone shows up to test you to see if you got it. Oh, you say that you are one with God and you believe in love. Let's see if you will be loving right here. Can you stand the rain? See, if you can't stand the rain, what you gonna do when the flood comes? So not only do you have to be able to withstand the rain, you've got to be able to withstand the flood. And my God, if God doesn't have a sense of humor, no sooner than the flood is up around your windows do the winds of change start to blow. Just about the time you've had it up to here. In the words of Popeye, that's all I can stands, and I can't stands no more. And here come the wind, just blowing. Out of nowhere, for no reason, just blowing. The rain's gonna come. The flood is gonna come. The wind is gonna come. And they are all going to encroach on the house of your awareness. Now, what have you built that awareness on? Is it on what they've said, or is it on the conviction of your soul? So here's the other option. If you find that building it on the sand is not adequate, here's the other option. You can build it on the rock. Now, the difference between, as I said moments ago, the difference between the constitution of the sand and the constitution of the rock is the rock still knows that it's a rock. The sand just remembers being a rock. The rock still knows that it is a rock. The rock is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So we've got to decide which one we will build the house on. Will we build it on the sand, or will we build it on the rock? Now, when we decide to build it on the rock, something happens. See, if I understand the nature of a rock is reliable. If I understand the nature of a rock is stable. If I understand the characteristics of a rock is dependable. So I've got to decide, which one will I build on? Will I build on the sand? Or will I use whatever amount of faith I have to build it on the rock? I'm reminded of someone in Scripture who decided to build. As a matter of fact, he didn't just decide to build. This is good. He didn't just decide to build. He heard that he should build. Anybody familiar with Noah? Noah heard that he should build. Noah was instructed, someone say instructed. Noah was instructed to build an ark. And Noah, in his mind, trying to reconcile, why would I build an ark? It has not rained in years. See, but the difference between the foolish man and the wise man and Noah is that they understood the value in not only hearing, but doing. See, it's one thing to hear it. The whispering of the still small voice is always talking to all of us, and you might not hear it, you might feel it. Or you might not feel it, you might see it. But the whole Spirit of God is always communing and communicating with you in the way that you know how to receive it. The question is, what will you do with what you got? What are you going to build it on? See, if you build it on a rock, when the rains come and the floods come and the winds blow, or if you build it like Noah, it means sometimes you might have to build it even if you look ridiculous as people walk by and they're trying to figure out what in the heck is that fool doing. I don't get it. That's because you didn't get it. I don't understand it. That's because you're not listening. I don't see it. That's because your eyes are not open. See, seeing with these eyes is not the same with seeing in the mind's eye. See, as a matter of fact, when you build on the rock, you have to be willing to walk by faith and not by. Come on, somebody talk to me. Somebody talk to me. So the thing about Noah is that he was willing to do what he needed to do. He was willing to build the ark even though there was public pressure to not build it. It's odd when people think you crazy. Oh, I ain't talking about me. I know I'm good. Don't get it twisted. I'm talking about Noah, although there is a Noah in me and in you. Let's stay right here. Somebody tell him, stay right here. But here is the thing. Here is the thing about building on an ark. Here's the thing about hearing and doing. Here's the thing about hearing and doing. See, if you will follow the example of Noah, or if you will follow the example of the wise man, here is what will happen. Oh my God. See, it won't stop the rains from coming. It won't stop the rains from coming. But here is what it will do. When the rains come, they'll lift what you built. Oh, don't miss it. Don't miss it. If you follow the instruction of God to build what he told you to build or to do what he told you to do, if you are not just a hearer, but you're also a doer, when the rains come, and you can rest assured that they will come, the rains will lift what you've been instructed to build. And when the floods come, if you are not just a hearer, but a doer, when the floods come, you will find that rather than being consumed and overtaken by the difficulty, you know how to flow with it and float on it. Because whatever God tells you to build or whatever he tells you to do, it's intended to help you manage through the adversity in a way that is healthy for you. It's intended to help you become who you are divinely designed to be. So then when the floods come, you learn how to float on them. That means you're no longer drowning in the very thing that was killing you before. That means you're no longer upset when people look at you sideways. That means you don't give your 2 cents away when you need to keep all of your right mind. So if you build it the way he told you to build it, it will float and you'll be able to flow when the storms come or when the floods come. Now the winds might still beat on you. But from my time in the Navy, here is what I've learned. There is a such thing as buoyancy. And buoyancy means that the ship might teeter and it might totter, but it absolutely stays afloat. See, if you build on the rock and you walk by faith and not by sight, you will go through whatever you've got to go through, but it won't take you over, it won't take you under. You won't have anything happen to you that you can't manage, because there is something powerful that happens when you hear, and don't just hear, but you do. So I want to encourage you on this morning to not just listen to the whispering of the still small voice, but have the courage to step out and do what God is telling you to do. What you'll find is that it helps you manage the adversity. It helps you overcome the difficulty. It helps you move past the caution, and it helps you walk by faith and not by sight. What is it built on? I want to just encourage you to build it on